Alright guys, welcome back to episode 10 of The Shady Youth. We on episode 10? Episode 9 or episode 10? I'm not sure, but you can tell from the title that's either one of those two. So welcome back guys. I suck for losing count within 10 episodes, but you know, it's whatever. It's me. You expect failure. Anyway, enough about me. We have an amazing guest today. It's about every guest because every guest of mine is amazing. Today we have spectacular, the linguistic genius. That's a hint on what the episode is about. We have Hanan Aslam.
Assalamualaikum, okay.
Waalaikum salam, akhi. How you doing, akhi?
I'm
كيف
doing good.
حالك؟ كيف حالك?
Be care, we're doing no good in here.
I have no idea what you said. Translate that for me.
Is that in English?
You said bikhair. What does that mean?
Bikhair means like I'm good.
Oh, okay. Khair means good. And ba means whatever. So as the intro can kind of, foreshadow, I guess, into what this whole thing is about, I hit up Hanan because Hanan was recently on an episode of another podcast. I know, right? He's not the first. This is not the first podcast for him. This is crazy. So I hit him up because he's a big shot now. He's an Arabic guru, if you will. Anyway, I'll link the episode to the podcast that Hanan was on recently. It was an episode on for Al-Andalus Institute with Ustad Muhammad Al-Andalusi. Was that his name? That's his name, right? Yeah, I follow him on IG. He's a very cool guy. He's very dedicated to disseminating like how to speak Arabic, right? Like, because he made this whole institute, and he the whole like slogan of the institute is that we know how to teach Arabic better than like the whole traditional model of learning grammar, learning all these rules, but not really learning vocab, right? So they use a very vocab heavy model. Would you say that's accurate, Hanan?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So he was on that podcast recently, and he went through his whole journey of how he got into Arabic, how he started to get passionate about it, and how he finally made the leap to start this course and eventually did get very, very good at speaking Arabic on a high level. So if you want to see all that, you can hit up the episode. I'll link it in the description below. But for those who don't click on it, because I imagine there's going to be a lot of them, Hanan, how would you like to start off your journey in this whole Arabic endeavor?
Before I start off my explanation of my journey, I'd like to correct you, because that's not really a podcast. That was more of an interview. So don't worry, this is my first podcast.
Hey, I like that. That's what's up.
Yeah. And in regards to the program, yeah, it's definitely check it out. Arabic like an Arab by Muhammad Andalusi, the brother, he worked hard on this program, and it's one of the greatest programs out there. So if you want to learn Arabic and you're serious about it, check the program out, inshallah.
MashaAllah, tabarakallah.
I gotta
just flex my hints of Arabic here and there throughout the episode.
Barakallah.
Embarrass myself, but it's cool.
And thirdly, I'm not at a proficient level yet. Like, I can speak Arabic fluently, but anyone who knows Arabic, like, it will say like, this guy, he's right. Making mistakes left and right in his grammar. Like, Fatha Damma, he doesn't know this, obviously. So yeah. But in regards to my journey, the funny thing is, when I started off, I didn't want to learn Arabic. I remember it was just like I was learning Qur'an at the time with my friend, and then my dad was like, "You got to do this program at Isa ibn Maryam. It's a masjid in Queens, one of my favorite masjids in Queens." And he's like, "Once you get into this community, your life is going to change. This community is so different from all the rest." And he used to do this program that he put me in because he wanted to learn Arabic as well. So he was like, I'm gonna put my son in this. And I didn't want to do it at first. I'm like, I don't really need to learn Arabic. I don't want to learn Arabic. What's the point? I don't know if it's gonna work. And then, that was my initial take. But once
how long ago was this?
Oh, this was maybe freshman year, definitely freshman year of high school, for sure. So 3 years ago, 3-4 years ago.
Okay.
So a lot of people think
2016-ish?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of people think like, oh, he got quick in Arabic like with only like a couple months of work. Nah, I've been doing this for like 4 years, man. I've been working, I've been trying. But yeah, he put me in the program, and then I found love. Like I remember literally the first class or the second class, we just talked about the letter ba and Bismillah, and my teacher Ustad Zakaria, he was saying like, oh, ba means like to with. It can be translated with. So then I started thinking about like when you say Bismillah, whenever you do something, you're literally saying with the name of Allah, I start this action. And like I remember literally, I have like a vivid memory in my head. I was walking back to the bus and I was texting my friends. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. That means with, like with the name of Allah. When you're saying Bismillah, you're saying you start this with the name of Allah. And I was tripping over that. And that was like such a simple thing. And from there, I was just like, I got to keep going. And I found love from the.
I don't know. That's a beautiful story. Just something as simple as bad is it can be as something simple as bad, right? It's just one letter, but Allah SWT instilled that love within you of Arabic just from that one letter, right? Because a lot of people might think that to fall in love with the language, you might need like some crazy, like some crazy nuanced linguistic rule that just blows their mind, right? But if you truly have, I don't know, if Allah truly wants to put that love of a language or especially Arabic within you, he'll do it through the simplest of means. And I guess the letter ba, right? That's literally the second letter in the Arabic alphabet. SubhanAllah, that's another like kind of mind-blowing thing, I guess. But something as simple as that, got you into this whole journey of furthering your knowledge of Arabic. So after you did that, right, you furthered your learning, of course, after the Masjid Isa course. You didn't mention how long it was.
Right. So in terms of the Isa course, I believe I did like 2 semesters of it. And then after that, I spoke with my teacher.
So
like,
that's how long would each semester be?
I haven't, it's been so long, I barely remember. I think it maybe was like 4 months. Maybe.
Okay.
Like, yeah. So like I did 2 semesters of it. And then I started speaking with my teacher. I started Zakaria, and I'm like, I want to go on my own. Like I really I feel like these classes are going too slow. I don't entirely remember how I got to this point.
Damn, bro, you were like, yo, you're holding me back, Ustad G.
Ustad, you're holding me back.
Sheikh, I want a little more.
You got that thirst. You can't be saturated once a week.
Exactly.
And but I don't remember how I stumbled upon these videos, but or if this is even the proper order. But I know that eventually I stumbled onto the Medina books. Actually, now I remember. There was a cousin I had who
explain what the Medina books are.
Like before I did that, so there's a cousin I had,
No problem.
like I randomly went to his house one time, and he told me about the Medina books, and that's how I learned about it. Just a random cousin on a random occasion that I barely ever talked to. And then the Medina books are basically they're one of the most famous sets of books out there to learn Arabic. There's Medina book 1, 2, and 3. It'll essentially take you from a beginner level, like هذا كتاب or هذا مكتب, and it'll take you up and build you grammar-wise.
That means this is a book, and these are books.
This is.
I know a little something.
I see.
Continue, inshallah.
Yeah, so that's what the Medina books are. They're basically a grammar-focused way of learning the Arabic language. And perhaps for some people it'll work. But I went through all 3 books using this brother's YouTube videos, this Paki brother. Anyone who's tried to look it up will know this Paki brother. He, mashallah, may Allah bless him. He's like he's a very beautiful brother in his character and akhlaq. But I went through all 3 books, and I maybe finished it junior or sophomore year. And I had all this stuff, knowledge of like, oh, what is this way to form sentences, jumlatul fi'liya, jumlatul ismiya, marfu', mansub, majroor, these basic things. But I had no way to use
These are all grammar rules, correct?
Yeah, these are all like
categories of grammar
terms. So like there's the nominal sentences, the verbal sentences.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So things we wouldn't even think about in English. Like
Exactly.
A lot of us wouldn't even know what half of these terms even mean. But we use them on a regular basis.
Yeah, exactly. And I was able to make like tiny sentences, maybe like كتبت هذا, I wrote this, or درست هذا, or كيف حالك, like basic sentences in Arabic. But I wasn't able to utilize all the stuff that I had learned properly because I had no vocabulary. You can blame it, but I'll definitely take the blame for that on my way of studying it, and I didn't put enough focus on vocabulary because I was a self-taught person. You know,
Hmm.
maybe if you go through the three Medina books with a proper teacher, perhaps it'll be better because then they'll build you up with vocabulary. But when I was out of it, I really had no way to use all the stuff that I had learned. And after that, I'm like, you know what? I met a brother on at itikaf one year. I think it was 2 years ago, and he introduced me to this app. It's called Memrise.
Yeah, it take off during Ramadan.
Yeah, itikaf in Ramadan. It's the last 10
Okay.
days of Ramadan. I just stayed in the masjid during school. So there was this one brother, a random brother that came in the masjid. He introduced me to this app called Memrise. It's basically a way to translated words, you know, like flashcards, like Quizlet, pretty much that, but
Hmm.
like in a different form. So I started using that to learn Arabic more because I'm like, you know, at this point, I have a lot of grammar. What I need to do is focus on building up my vocabulary. So then I started using that app and I started getting vocabulary on my own. And then eventually, that's when I stumbled on Mufti Muhammad ibn Munir, on Hadith Disciple, his video with Andalus Institute. And that was during the i'tikaf because I saw the video. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I contacted the brother because you had to do back then. You had to do one-on-one interviews with the brother, and he told me that it was like $2,000. And I'm like,
Subhanallah.
subhanallah. And I was like, I can't do this on the spot. You know, my
Right.
parents are like, I haven't spoke to them. I'm like, you know what, this isn't for me right now. And I spoke to the brother who had introduced me to Memrise, and he's like, you know what, you don't need this course. Just keep on doing Memrise. And I kept doing it for like a couple, 3, 4, 5 months later, and it worked. It worked. But I'm like, you know, I stumbled back on the course in September of last year. So that's September 2019. And I'm like, I'm doing it. I'm going well. But there's no doubt if I have a teacher, I can go so much faster. Because when you have a teacher for any subject, this is in regards to anything you want to study. When you have a teacher and you're starting off, the teacher will help you, guide you, keep you safe from mistakes, and like zoom you through. It'll be so much faster when you have a teacher because they know what works, they know what doesn't work. But when you're doing it on your own, you have to find out all these things on your own. So I'm like, you know, it's no doubt that if I get a teacher, I'm going to do better on this. If I get a teacher, it's going to help me. If I get a teacher, I'm going to progress faster. So that's what really motivated me. Like, you know, I really wanted to get this course. And at that time, the price was lowered down to 1,000, even though it's still very expensive. I'm
Right.
like, I talked to my parents, and alhamdulillah, I'm very grateful for my parents. They're very supportive parents
It
for,
was a one-time payment.
yes, one time payment. I'm very so they agreed to pay it off for me because they're like, you know what, I know you want to do this, like seek knowledge for your future, and they were like, this is very important because Arabic and Qur'an are the two fundamentals to any student of knowledge. So they let me buy the course. And alhamdulillah, since then, like it's just been going uphill in terms of my studies.
All right, bro. That sounds like an amazing story. And all throughout, you seem to be very dedicated and actually trying to look for avenues and ways to actually attain the Arabic language, right? Because it's very easy for you to convince yourself that, oh, I did the three Medina books, you know, I know Arabic now, right?
Yeah.
It's khalas, right? As they say. Khalas, I'm done. I know Arabic now because I did the three Medina books. But no, you have to truly be honest with yourself and what your weaknesses are and what you can improve in and what you really need to do to, become proficient in something. This is for any skill,
Mhm.
and this is for any language, not just Arabic. Um, and it's just amazing and to truly like just see that you furthered your journey and continue to get that vocab from the app memorized, like you said. And then even then you saw the weakness of, no, I can still do better in this because I'm not really becoming fluent. I'm just kind of learning words, and I'm learning here and there, but I need a teacher, right? That's what it boils down to. And ultimately that's kind of what you need for anything, like you said beautifully. So yeah, I'm very impressed by like the actual what's the word, being true to yourself and like what you actually need, rather than saying, hey, I got this, like, I can do this by myself, right? You realize when you need help, and you realize when you hit a blockade in your self-study journey. So after you did the payment, you started the course. Talk a little bit about the experience with the course itself.
So in terms of the course, I started off with the weekly conversation sessions, just saying simple sentences, and the teacher at the time was Ustad Ibrahim. So, and he was a very supportive teacher. Allah bless him. He made it so that those weekly conversation sessions, so just to explain what they are, every week on Saturdays and Sundays, we would have a 2-hour-long session where we would just speak in Arabic, and everything in it would be in Arabic. And the teacher, Ustad Ibrahim, lesson, he really helped me on that. And he was such a welcoming person that it made it easier and more comfortable to speak and to try and speak. Because what happened to me at the beginning is like, walking into those, I'm like, yo, I'm scared to speak in. I don't like to speak to people. Just like, I'm a quiet person in general. So when this happened, it's like, I don't really like to speak in the first place, and now I have to speak in Arabic, a whole different language. But alhamdulillah, due to his support and his loving and kindness and his sincerity, it really encouraged me, and it moved me forward. That's in terms of the weekly conversation sessions, which is one part of the program. In terms of the other parts of the program, which is like, there's a book, basically. It's called Arabiya Bayna Yaday, Arabic between your hands. You can translate it to be. And it's another book just like the Medina series, the Medina books, but it's primarily focused in vocabulary. And they use it in Al-Azhar, which is a Islamic university in Egypt, and universities such as that. So that you start going through those books, and each lesson they give you like a ton of vocabulary. So alhamdulillah, I started to build up more vocabulary. Now I can start using what I've learned from the Medina books, the basic like concepts of, okay, this is how you make a sentence, this is a fi'l, this is a verb, this is how you use the verb in the sentence. And then I started putting that together with the vocabulary, and I started to build my way up. And because of I'm a young person, alhamdulillah, so I had a lot of free time. So I'm just, every time I get home from school, my priority is not schoolwork, so I'm focusing on just doing the Arabic lessons. Every week I'm putting like lots of hours on the videos, on writing down the vocabulary, memorizing the vocabulary, using the vocabulary, and watching videos in Arabic, cartoons in Arabic. Just keep on doing that. Yeah, that's the best part.
That's dope, bro. That's dope.
Definitely. So you start building that vocabulary. You start hearing it being used, and your brain slowly starts to get used to just, okay, I can speak Arabic, and it's a normal thing now. That's how it was after I started the book.
And how long was the course?
The course, I'm not even done with it yet.
Okay, so you're still ongoing. Gotcha. How, on a scale of 1 to 10, how far would you say, 10 being how can I put this? 10 being you can hold a conversation about politics with an Arabic person, and 1 being like me, or like كيف حالك, or like هذا كتاب, that kind of thing. Where would you say you land on that spectrum?
I don't know what you'd be talking about in politics, but I say 7.
You say 7? That's solid. 7. That's solid. MashaAllah, that's solid. That's very solid.
Because the thing about Arabic is, even if you don't know the specific words for things, if you know the words that you can use to explain that concept,
to describe it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's say like sayyara, that's car, right? What would you say if I didn't know how to say car?
الشيء الذي تركب فيه يأتيك أو جئت فيه عندما تريد أن تسافر، أو تستعمله عندما تريد أن تسافر إلى أصدقائك، وعندما تريد أن تزور أصدقائك تستعمل السيارة. يعني كمثلا you use like expressions, phrases, you use it. You get
طيب.
the hands,
نعم.
man.
نعم نعم
Exactly.
نعم. طيب. Damn, I'm really embarrassing myself. For every Arabic speaker that is listening right now, is probably like, what is this man doing?
Nah, man. Even when you learn Arabic, you still do that stuff. خلاص أخي أكيد nah أخي لا لا لا
يعني لا لا
لا
لا.
يعني
No. It sounds like I'm making fun of it. No, it's that's not
nah, you're
what I'm trying to
sure.
do at all. So it just tell me what you just said because I literally have no
Oh,
idea.
I'm sorry.
I heard like something about traveling, but besides
I
that,
I was saying like I might have messed up at the beginning of what I was saying because when you switching from Arabic to English it hurts. But I was saying like the thing you use to get from one place to another when you want to visit your friends you use this. You come
right?
in this when you want to visit your friends, like and then I started doing the facial gestures and the body gestures.
The brr, nice. That's dope. You were saying that when you're like thinking or you're trying to transition to Arabic, um, would you say that a part of the learning process is to program yourself to actually start having thoughts in Arabic?
Oh,
Is that a
for
step to go through?
Absolutely, because once like one of the biggest things that helped me like in my journey of learning Arabic, and I'm still learning, obviously, but is that when you start thinking in Arabic, when you learn new words, you start using everything you've learned before to learn that new word. And
Okay.
one of the greatest things that has helped me is making jokes and just having fun with it. Like I remember my teachers in the program, they always I write we write sentences sometimes
Hmm.
for the words that we learn and we use them in it. I just try to come up with the funniest things or like the dumbest things so that I can remember the things and that it's fun for me to actually use it.
You have a go-to example for that?
Oh yes. There's one example where we learned turning to the west. غرب شرق I forgot the words, but it was like turning to the west, turning to the east, turning to the north, or turning south. I forgot. I don't even know if these were the words, but it was something like an example with a wife and a husband I had made, where it's like the the wife was telling him to do something, and he's like looks the other way, then he looks the other way. It was just funny, man. I don't
Oh
even. That
man.
was, yeah.
Oh man. Um, so it seems like you definitely got to a solid state in your Arabic. What would you say is your primary motivation for getting this far and continuing to try to excel? Because you yourself said that this is like nowhere near, or it's what you implied, like this is nowhere near the level that I want to be at, right? So what would you say is your primary motivator at this stage?
Mm. At this stage, my primary motive at this stage.
Right, because I think, I don't know, to me it's gonna sound bad, but language always seemed kind of boring, right? It just,
Mhm.
like, whether it be Spanish. I remember in in high school, right, or in middle school, we actually started learning Spanish. But in high school, we did like a couple years of Spanish too,
Mhm.
and it just seemed beyond boring. Like there were a couple units that were kind of fun, like here and there with the projects, like speaking and like doing skits or maybe like doing an art project or something like that, right? Yeah, those were fun. But learning all these like rules and elements like that, those I it's just boring to me, right?
Yeah.
I've had similar experience with Arabic. I definitely have an interest, right? But the grammar is where I lose it. The
Mhm.
grammar is truly where I lose that interest. And I think for any language, that's probably where a lot of people lose that interest, right? Because they get into a very rule oriented type of style. But then I kind of realized, like, how do I learn English, or how do I learn like Bengali? Like those, some of my friends and family members might say, no, you actually don't know Bengali, you suck at it. They'd be right. So how did I learn English? I mean, I went to school, I spoke with like my classmates, my friends. um, yeah, I didn't learn like the rules, or I mean, they taught grammar in class,
Yeah.
obviously, but that's not how you truly learn it. You learn it by talking to the kids at recess, by cracking jokes, like you said, with your friends,
Mhm.
by experiencing the language, right? Is that how you would say it?
Uh,
So at this stage, it seems like you yourself are having a more pleasant time with it because you fully immerse yourself. Would that be accurate to say?
yeah. I think in terms of school stuff you're talking about, bro, I hated Spanish in school. The way they teach language in
No,
school
no
is
offense to
garbage.
any Spanish speakers
Yeah,
or
I'm
anyone
sorry.
that likes Spanish. It's a very
No, no,
beautiful
the
language.
language is great. The
Yeah,
language is great. The
just
way they teach it in
the way
school,
they teach it. Yeah,
oh, it's garbage. It's so garbage because they make it
I
so
mean, it probably
boring.
works for some people. Probably works for some
Yeah,
people.
yeah, it does work for some people, no
Yeah.
doubt. But like, it's like they make it so boring. Like when it comes to learning a language, there's so much you can do. You can watch cartoons, you can watch movies, you can listen
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
I'm not promoting music, but the non-Muslims they can listen to music. Like it's all the stuff you can
Okay.
do to immerse yourself in the language and have fun with it. But they just make it you gotta memorize these vocabulary. Oh, you gotta learn this. Oh, we're gonna use this and we're gonna write sentences. It's so boring in class. Especially
Yeah.
that
I mean, shout out to the people that can actually learn it and like.
word.
Yeah, because I'm guessing that's more of like a methodical type approach, so a lot of people might
Yeah,
actually appreciate it.
true.
That sort of approach, but I don't know. I'm just not that type of person.
Hmm.
And I watch a lot of like animated type stuff. So
Yeah,
anime is involved with that. So it's something like Japanese as well. I like pick up on words here and there, but again, it's just like I'm not gonna learn the language because
yeah,
language is just not something I'm that fond of. Like nowadays, I'm definitely sort of turning my trajectory on that perspective. Like I definitely do want to, you know, get proficient enough to at least understand the Quran, right? That's because everyone always says that the Quran is a very basic level of Arabic where you only really need to know like a couple hundred words or something like that, and like
mhm,
some vowel and like some grammar rules, right? It doesn't have to be like complex grammar of like multiple categories, things like that, to truly understand the Quran. You only need a certain level, right? So my goal for now is to at least get to that level, and that should be a goal for all of us, right?
yeah,
I guess that's what I wanted to lead to with
yeah,
that
yeah.
primary
Listen,
motivator question. Um,
yeah.
what would you say is your primary motivator at this point, right? Because at, at a 7 out of 10, where 10 is talking about politics, I'd probably say that 7 is like more than enough to at least understand the Quran, right?
Mhm.
So, what is driving you forward?
So, like the thing is, my motives have changed over time because as you grow more, you understand the Quran at some point, and like
Yeah.
enough of it.
Mm-hmm.
But in the beginning, my motive was I want to understand the Quran, and I would always like challenge like my heart would always be conflicted between do I memorize the Quran or do I learn Arabic, like, and anyone who knows me knows I've been going through this like struggle for like 3 years now, like, do I memorize the Quran, do I focus on Arabic? I've been going on and off, and then when I started focusing on Arabic with the program, that's when I got somewhere, because it's like
Yeah, and
I,
this is like we're still students in high school.
exactly.
So I mean, I'm in college now, but Hanan just graduated high school. Shout out to all the graduates.
Yeah. Home graduates of 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so it was like, because when you memorize the Quran, it's like if you're just memorizing sounds, you don't get that joy in your heart. But when you're memorizing the words,
No,
the
I wouldn't say that.
stories,
No, I wouldn't say that. I still enjoy just reciting the Quran. There's still
obviously,
enjoying it.
no doubt, there is a level of beauty to because the Quran, you understand it, you don't understand it, there's barakah in it.
Yeah.
No matter what, there's always going to be barakah in the Quran. But when you understand what Allah is saying to you and you're reciting it as if Allah is speaking, you're literally, when you're saying وَجَاءَ damn it, nothing came to mind when I heard that. But when you're reciting that with قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ, and you have it as if you're speaking the words, that's a whole entire different level of experience.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's
No
like
doubt.
Allah
And
is literally speaking to you.
yeah, it can probably just affect the tonality of how you recite it too, because then you can recite it with actual emphasis on the things that need emphasis. Like, why do you think we get so touched when we hear a professional reciter from the haram or from someone that actually knows the language? They know how to hit the right the right mood in certain spots. When they're talking about Jahannam, they have a very like solemn,
Uh-huh.
um, serious tone. When they're talking about Jannah, their voice, their tone might get higher, might get more joyful. They might get like very excited, right? Like a kid.
Mhm.
Um, that's kind of where I guess reciting and learning the language can mesh together. You can fully take your recitation to the highest extent. by learning the actual meaning of it.
Do you know who Mansour As-Salami is? Or I think that's his name. It's this Arab guy who, whenever he's like giving speeches and stuff, when he recites the Quran, he like recites it so beautifully. I don't know if you know who that is,
No,
but I'm sure some of the viewers will know. It's this Mansour As-Salami. Definitely check him out, because when he recites the Quran, he's like giving lectures or stuff. He's speaking, and then when he starts, he's saying like Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, like it's like you can see it's coming from his heart, like it's direct speak to you. And that's one of the things that like so beautiful.
That's amazing, man. I pray that we can all have that love for the Quran and the Arabic language as well. And the Arabic language, I have my own takes on how the glorification of it has kind of like affected our society and our culture as Muslims as a whole. But overall, it's something that we should all like at least try to learn to an extent, right? Mm-hmm. Because a lot of the tenets of our faith are built surrounding that, right? Because Salah, right? You do the same exact motions 5 times a day. How hard is it to just learn the dhikr, the phrases you say every single time you raise your hands, you bow down, you go to sujood, when you're in sujood, you get back up. These are the same phrases. How hard would it be to learn these like these 10 phrases? It's not hard. It's not hard at all. We can all do this. And perhaps after that you can learn Surah Fatiha, right? Then after that, maybe the 3 quls, the last 3 surahs, last 3 chapters of the Qur'an, right? These aren't difficult things, right? We just gotta at least push ourselves and at least start that journey to take these steps. It's because it's a step-by-step process at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. I did want to touch on the cultural like effect of overglorification of the Arabic language, but no, it's just a matter of time. But I'll try to like keep it short, and I want your take on this discussion as well, because I have a lot of hot takes. Of course you do. So my opinion, I want to say opinion because a lot of people can see this, right? In the Arab world, people like us are kind of treated like the Mexicans of America, right? Like we're treated very badly. But by we, I mean like Pakistanis, Bengalis, Indians, let's say. It's like South Asian laborers and, people that look like us, in the Arab world. And you see it like in the UAE and Saudi. And I'm not trying to generalize, but it's a societal thing at the end of the day. It's a systemic thing, I guess. And I assume a lot of that comes from this Arab superiority and you always see those horror stories of, a migrant labor, and there's a ton of black laborers as well. You can see a ton of these stories, these horror stories of, some like Arab, I don't know what you call it, like landowner or whatever, right? And they're like whipping them and like abusing them, just making a mockery of them. And I can definitely see how, to a certain extent, the over-glorification of the Arabic culture as a whole can lead to some of that, right? Because, and our African brothers and sisters can definitely attest to this, right? Even from our community, like South Asians, bro, we don't treat them right either, right?
Definitely not.
Yeah, there's kind of a hierarchy, I guess, it's like Arabs, then it's like the rest of us, then like our black brothers and sisters are just looked at very poorly. And again, I don't want to generalize, right? like we have a ton of Arab friends. It's more of a cultural, systemic, or societal thing, right? It's not. It's nothing, individual or personal, right? I don't know any like person or Arab person that treats me like crap or makes me feel bad. But I saw this thing on Twitter recently where it was like, it was commenting on the way we say prayer, right? Because a lot of us say namaz, but someone like made fun of that, right? It was just a little thing here and there, but it just ticked me off. Like, namaz is taken from a Persian word. A lot of the scholars use that word in their books, right? A lot of them did use namaz because it was taken from a Persian word. It's nothing huge of a thing. The only place where tajweed, where the proper phrasing of things come like actually matters, is the Qur'an, right? When we're actually reciting it, because that's where we're actually be held accountable into how we're pronouncing it. But something like that just ticked me off, where I'm like, something as little as this, you can kind of see the asabiya, right? The tribalism. And yeah, it's just a hot take that I have that I guess some people don't agree with me on. But what's your take on it?
That's it. Honestly, I think the problem with that take is that when you learn Arabic, you realize that Arabs, natural Arabs don't know jack about Arabic, the Quranic Arabic, like literally. Like if you know Muhammad Andalusi, my teacher, Ustad Andalusi, if you look at his Instagram page, he makes literally joke videos about going to Egypt and speaking with the Egyptians there.
Yeah.
Because when you speak like Fusha, like أتكلم عربية.
I mean, no, it's colloquial, right? It's the same thing with English. Like an English professor from like another country will outclass anybody in America.
But it's like
Hands
they
down.
think they're reciting Qur'an when you start speaking normal sentences, bro.
Yeah, I saw a couple of those kids. It's pretty funny. But and again, we're not trying to mock. It's
Nah,
just
of course.
it's like again like an English speaker or English professor from like another country will outshine me any day, and like I'll look like a fool in front of them because I don't know the language inside and out like that.
But that's my point I was trying to make is that I don't think that associating Arabs in the modern era with the Arabic language and language of the Quran is proper. Because I know...
No, of course not. That's finish your take.
Because I know that black brothers, Bengali brothers, Paki brothers who know Arabic better than any Arab. It's like, I understand what you're saying though. The concept of because they have this Arabic language and because it's so overglorified, they take it as a reason to be superior.
Yeah, or some people at least. Some people, because again, I don't
obviously
want to
we're not overgeneralizing.
Yeah,
I agree, but I understand that take you're coming from. I understand it. I don't know how I feel about it yet because I've never really thought about the topic. But it's something that's problematic because that's not Islamic at all. We know that for a fact. Because I think a problem that the Muslim Ummah is facing right now is that we've become so divided as a nation. There's racism within racism, and it's
trust me. As a Bengali, bro, there's like districts that hate each other. I'm sure in like Pakistan, there's the same thing.
And it's like within Islam, we know that. Look, that's your Muslim brother. It doesn't matter what skin color he is, where he's from.
Yeah,
that is your Muslim brother. You are supposed to be like this with him, like tight bond.
No, it's very unfortunate that we have so much asabiya, right? Because Rasulullah, I'm gonna paraphrase the hadith, but it was something like leave it, right? Leave it, referring to asabiya. It is rotten, right? It's a rotten thing, and he advises to leave it, but it's something that has plagued our ummah for millennia. It's very sad to see because at the end of the day, we're called brothers and sisters for a reason. You know, it's very sad to see.
Yeah. And from my personal perspective, this is obviously what my own experiences are. I found that the brothers who have been oppressed the most, or the brothers who come from the most oppressed people, they have become the most that shine the brightest when you give them the light.
Yeah, definitely.
Muhammad, like Ustad Abu Ramlah, aka Mufti, or Ustad Shadid Muhammad. These guys are my role models. Like these guys are so strong in their knowledge and they're how they go about it. And like I've just been inspired by them, even though I'm packed.
They're all from Philly, right? They're all from Philly.
Philly got a
these Philly scholars are something else, bro.
Yeah,
New York got our own share, but
yeah, we do.
Philly scholars get a special shout out too.
For sure.
Yeah, so this is a really nice conversation having with you, man. I don't want to spend too much of your time more. Just in summary, I really hope and pray that we can all unite as an ummah one day. May Allah give us the tawfiq, the ability, right, bro, I'm just flexing my Arabic, just left and right. But may Allah give us the ability to, truly embody the Qur'an and truly like fall in love with the language that He sent His word in, right? May Allah allow us to fully embody what a true Muslim is supposed to be, how he is supposed to act. And may Allah allow us to all reunite in Jannatul Firdaus, in heaven, in the highest level of heaven one day, and truly see each other as brothers and sisters. Ameen. Thank you once again, Hanan Aslam,
Thank you for inviting me.
linguistic genius. No, I'm kidding. There's a hadith that says if something to the effect of if someone overprays you to their face, throw dust at them. So next time you see me, throw dust at me, inshallah. So, jazakallahu khair. Thank you again, Hanan. Thank you guys for tuning in, and see you in the next episode.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Da